Have you ever seen a cosplay that you think, wow, that is big. That is an amazing but enormous cosplay. I wonder how much time that person took into making it. I wonder why they chose that cosplay. And then you look at them and you think for a long and hard time about the amount of time it took, why they did it, and think, they must be masochistic. I'm going to tell you a story about 22 feet of torture. The story of my Miia Monster Musume cosplay. So before we get into the construction of the cosplay and what it was like walking around, and yes, I did walk, I'm going to tell you a little bit about why Monster Musume and why I chose Miia, because there's some reasoning behind that. So, back in 2016, a wonderful little anime came out called Monster Musume. And for those of you who don't know, you're missing out on something very wonderful. It is a beautiful story about these women with animal features and big jiggly breasts. Except the bird. Her breasts are not really there, but she's got a wonderful personality and a dumb brain. I actually got her voice actor's autograph. But that's another story. Anyways, it's an ecchi comedy, but you start to feel for the girls, and I'm not just saying that, because every one of those girls becomes a member of your family. They start living rent-free in your brain, and that's okay. Anyways, you just think, oh, she's just weird. She just developed a monster girl fetish because of some anime. No, my monster girl problem started a long time ago. You probably noticed the enormous collection of Monster High dolls behind me. A collection 200 something and counting. And I say 200 something because I forgot the number. But we're not going to get into that right now. But Monster Musume. So why Monster Musume? Why did you want to cosplay something that is obviously going to be horrible to walk in, a bitch to make? Why? What is wrong with you? You dumb whore. Well, I'll tell you something. Like Pokemon, I looked at these beautiful monster girls and said, I'm gonna cosplay them all. And I've actually completed 3. Well, we're gonna say 2.5. 2.5, okay? So, back in 2016, I did Lala. And I repeated her in 2019 because the 2016 version was complete trash. Yeah, look at that picture. And here's our updated version. See? So cute, so pretty. Nice, lovely. We like this. Not that. That is severely edited. That's the only reason that picture looks good. 2017. So the reason why I say half is because this is Miro. Now Miro, it was an intense cosplay. Loved it at the time. $200 worth of scales when I had disposable income and I was an idiot. I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to make this big sequin tail. I'm gonna be, oh, razzle dazzle. I'm gonna be one of those fancy cosplayers who spends a ton of money on cosplays. Before I learned budgeting is so much better and I became a budget cosplayer, make big cosplays on so much cheaper items. We'll get on that at a different time. I made Miro. I'm not proud of it. It did get featured on a convention social media page, labeling me as disabled. I can move my legs. As you can see, I'm not disabled. Anyways, so we're back to that 2.5. So 2, or that was the half, Miro's the half because I plan on redoing her. And we're gonna say that's the official Miro. And now we got Miia, our big, beautiful snake girl. If she's your waifu, you're gonna be very proud of what I did with her. Chef's kiss, because I did the full 22 feet of Miia. So, Miia was a big girl, and I am surprised I pulled this thing off because I honestly didn't know how I was gonna make it. First of all, I work in a 3 by 2 foot desk space that has my sewing machine on it. And so my sewing machine itself is like a foot by like 10 inches. And so a 22 foot long snake tail is clearly very big in my room alone. So this is my room. I forgot the dimensions of it, but it's like 14 by 14. I live in a very small room. As you can see in these videos, I had to use my hallway to measure this baby out because I could not fit the length of her in my room. I wanted to do this on a very cheap budget because, again, like I said earlier, when I didn't want to repeat my mistake with Miro and buying $200 worth of sequin scales, I wanted to do this really cheap. So I bought my fabric on fabrichosale.com, $2 a yard, and I wanted it all one continuous length. That's the best way to do it, is getting your fabric online. Unfortunate thing is it might come out the wrong color, and I had that freak out with Miia. Because the thing is with Miia is her tail kind of changes shades of color regarding whether you're looking at the manga art version or the anime version. I mean, as you can see here, her tail is bright red on the manga cover. Bright red tail. But then if you look at the I Heart Monster Girls version of the manga, it's kind of like a more pinkish version of red. What do you want to call this? Burgundy? Not burgundy, wrong color. Let's just say pinkish red, because I can't think of colors right now. And then if you got the anime version, it's a whole nother color. And then if you watch the anime itself, it varies shade to shade. And then I was trying to compare my work to other cosplayers, and so they were kind of doing different shades as well, doing varies of coral colors, pinkish colors. Some even did kind of like red-orange colors for Miia. So this led to a huge problem, because when I got my fabric and I opened up this bag, I was like, oh shit, I think this is the wrong color. Around $20, because it was like, I got about 8 yards, because it was, 22 feet, so I did round it up to 24 to get, 3 feet a yard. I'm horrible at math, as shown in this clip here. Me aggressively repeating, I'm bad at math. Gotta hope for the best, gotta hope for the best, gotta hope for the best. I'm so bad at math, I'm so bad at math, I'm so bad at math. Oh god, I hope this fits. I mean, at least I know it's the right length. Anyways, it was around $20 to get the fabric. I couldn't send it back though. So I'm like, what am I going to do if I have the wrong color of fabric and I have 22 feet of it? Anyways, after looking through various sources, I just ended up saying it's good enough, because it looks like this one version of Miia where she's like peeling off the snake skin. It's really close. Because, like I said, her tail changes various shades throughout the anime. It's very weird. Anyways, she's Snake. It's anime. It's cosplay. We do what we do. So now that we got that turmoil out of the way, we got my fabric, we measure this puppy out, we cut her up, we cut her down the hallway, we measure her, and we stick that sucker back in my room, in my tiny little sad little baby workspace. So next was cutting out the belly plates, the anal plates, all the plates. Given the length of the tail, I had to measure how many I needed to combat the entire length of the tail and divide that by the inches of the tail, and it was a whole mess of that. So I came to the conclusion I needed about, what was it? I think it was 66 plates. As I worked my way down, they got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. The height of them never changed, only the width. So the height stayed the same. So I kept the same height throughout the the length of the tail, because if you look at the Miia figurine, and even just reference images, that height of those plates stays the same, even as it gets to the very tip. It never gets teeny tiny on that height of those anal plates, belly plates. It's the width that gets smaller. I just had to figure out the math of how many I needed to go with the length of the tail that would be an even number and would look good. And so, came up with 66. And so once I had all 66 of those plates I just started sewing those first, because I figured that would be the easiest part, was just sewing those plates first, getting one continuous piece. And so once I got those plates sewn, I brought my stuff back out into the hallway and laid it out and started I took a pen, laid my stuff out on top of the big kind of that coral fabric, the main body part fabric, laid the plates on top of the fabric and traced. Because I was going to kind of just have it come together like a puzzle piece. The main body part and those plates come together like this. And so that's how I got that lovely zigzag pattern, because I didn't want just a straight pattern between the main body and the plates. I wanted it to look organic, and I wanted it to look as canon as possible. I wanted it to look natural. And so there we had it. I had those little zigzags, and so then we dragged all that stuff back into my tiny little sewing space, and we got to work sewing that. And that's where the real fun began. The real abuse. Sewing it on the machine. I was working from about 10 o'clock at night to about 3 in the morning, sewing for a couple weekends in a row. I mainly got to work on this project evenings because I worked all days, and then when the weekends came around, I was busy all day during the weekends. So the evenings, starting about 10 o'clock at night, is when I got to really blossom into this project. So fast forward, we get the tail sewn. It is sewn, it is done. Well, it's not done. The hard part and the horrible part has just begun. Stuffing the thing. So it took about 15 pounds of polyfill according to the bags. So I just began stuffing this thing with polyfill, and it was like an Ouroboros. It just felt never ending. Just polyfill after polyfill after polyfill. It just would not end. It was hell. I thought sewing the thing was bad. I thought measuring and doing the math that I thought I wouldn't need from school was bad. No, stuffing it was bad. So I started stuffing this thing, and it's coming along, and it's looking great. And I'm like, yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. So about, let's say, 8 feet from the finish line, I noticed something as I'm stuffing giant Miia. Hey, this thing's looking a little too big. And I'm not talking about the length of the tail. I'm talking about Mia's girth. She's looking a little too chunky. So I thought I measured to my waist size. And I know I'm not the skinniest woman, but I'm not the biggest. And so I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, this is a little too thick. And I'm like, we all love a thick girl, but she's a little too thick. Like, she was chunky, like bigger than Lady Dig Dug Dimmadome thick. And so I had to do something very painful. I had to remove all the stuffing from Miia, a pair of scissors, and cut down the length of the tail, the full 22 feet, and take about 3 inches of fabric away from the main body part of the tail. So the anal, I keep calling them anal plates. The belly plates were fine. It was just the main body part was just somewhere along the way it got lost in translation, that there was just too much of it. There was too much of that main snake body part. And so I had to remove about 3 inches. And so we just took a little snip snip. And so there was just this little sew line. I had to re-sew it, straight line. And it sucked. I was really upset I had to do that. But she got that nice round, perfect shape. So it was like the roundness of my hips, and it went all the way down until it, you know, started to narrow into the snake point, and we got where we needed to be. And so what about them scales? Because as you can see in these pictures, there's scales on that tail, but the fabric I showed earlier did not have scales. So where did these scales come from? Puff paint. Did you know a $4 tube of puff paint you can get at Walmart goes a very long way? And so one reason I kept this fabric that I was a little uncomfortable with the color with is because I was going to use red puff paint to paint on these scales. Yes, I painted on all these individual scales because I'm a masochist when it comes to cosplay, because I do all these unnecessary, tedious little things to save me money. I save myself money by wasting my time, but I get it done. So that's a key lesson in saving money, is time management. You save your money by wasting your time. So yeah, a $4 tube of puff paint can almost paint an entire 22-foot long snake tail. I almost got that whole snake tail painted, and then I got about 6 feet from the end of that snake tail, and I ran out, and I had to go buy another tube. I painted on all those scales, but I really wanted to paint on the scales as opposed to buying scaled fabric with the pattern already on it. Because one, Miia has a very specific pattern of scales. It's a lot of octagonal shapes, polygons, pentagons, those sort of shapes, not just basic, that cliche crocodile scale pattern you see on fabric, or the dragon scales. And so I figured I'd do it myself. Plus, to buy pattern fabric would be about $12 a yard, and to buy 8 yards of this would not be the dolly way. I wanted to save money. So again, we're gonna paint on all these scales and we're gonna deal with it. So after stuffing the thing, we paint on all these scales. As we're painting them on, we gotta let them dry. So paint a section, let it dry, rotate, paint that section, let it dry, rotate, paint that section, let it dry. And the good thing about puff paint is it dries pretty quickly. It takes about, 30 minutes to maybe 45 minutes to dry, and I could get probably about like a good 2 or 3 feet done in a section, and my goal was to get about 2 feet of painting done a day, because I started this project around, I want to say May 15th is when I started this project. And so I started the painting process, beginning of June. And so I had a good amount of time to paint these scales, because I had to have Miia done by July 8th. That is when the convention started. That is when Anime Matsuri here in Houston, Texas started. So I had to get Miia done by then. So I'm like, 22 feet, have at least 1 to 2 feet done a day. Fine. Foot a day, 22 days. That's all I need. Problem was, I had other projects I had to do. because I was working on 5 other cosplays at the time. Because, again, masochist when it comes to cosplays. Anyways, we got it done. However, when you're painting something in a house that can tend to be very busy, things tend to kind of get in the way of that painting. And, it gets smeared. Luckily, it was more towards the underbelly of the snake. And so, when I noticed those sections got smeared, I was able to save them pretty quickly by getting Q-tips, wetting Q-tips, and finessing those lines, and then going over those lines again with the puff paint tube, because they have those little points, so just repaint it. Eventually, snake tail got done, and we had Miia. And so Miia was hooked up with a pair of shorts inside it. And so it's just got a pair of shorts inside it, so it's just really easy to slide on. June 27th at 2:52 p.m. Miia's snake tail was completed. Hallelujah. But that doesn't mean the completion of Miia was done. I still had the ears to make. I had to make her barrettes. I had to get a skirt and a shirt. And I had a wig that I had to do. I still had all the stuff for Miia that I needed. It was just, the hard part was done. So the ears are just made from simple EVA foam, 2mm EVA foam. I just cut out an ear shape, put some wire on it, hot glued it, and it just curves around the ear as shown in this video. Super easy to do and super lightweight, and it's very gentle on the ears. Painted it red, bam. The barrettes, just same thing, EVA foam, put some little pretty glitter on it, made it cute, sassy. Bam, we're done. The shirt and the skirt. Had to take a trip to good old Goodwill for those. I found the last yellow men's dress shirt for Miia, because for Miia I wanted to go with the figurine design and the design that is actually most often cosplayed for Miia, because even though she's shown in a variety of outfits, I wanted to go with the design that people most know her for, which is the tied-off yellow shirt. And fun fact, that yellow shirt is only shown once in the show, and it is in the scene where Miia loses her top fighting with Pappy in the park. And as that yellow shirt is the one Kurisu gives her to cover up with, and she ties it off so she can go climb the tree to go save the little girl, which she fails at miserably because she scares her. Wig. I had to kind of figure out what kind of hair option to go with Miia, because there's a variety of colors, like with the snake tail. It kind of changes, and again I kind of compared to other cosplayers to see what they chose for her hair color. Should I go with bright red like I see a lot of cosplayers do? But then again, the only character with super bright red hair in the show would be Zombina, and I didn't want to do that because she doesn't have bright red hair like Zombina. Kind of like a coral kind of color, and so I was thinking maybe I should do orange, because I see people do the orange kind of color and it looks good. And so I get an orange wig, and as you can see, it looks like trash. I hated it. I immediately sent that thing back to Amazon. And so I ended up going with a dusty orange pink, and it was perfect. I think it was a great color choice to go with Miia, especially because I felt like it matched more aligned with the figurine color. And that's the one I went with. And so I didn't actually end up styling the wig until I was putting on the cosplay in the hotel room. And so I was doing my makeup, I did body paint on my hips to do the scale pattern, because the tail doesn't go all the way up to do that hip pattern. So I did the paint here, I did the paint here to blend into the ears. And I painted my eyebrows and did my cute little lashes and fangs. And so I put on this wig, and it was just kind of like covered my whole face. So I was just like, good thing I packed some hairspray and some Gatsubi, and I just did a 5-minute hairstyling in the bathroom of my hotel room. And so I cut it and I smushed it together with that got2b, and I went onto the comm floor after cramming myself through the doorway with that snake tail. So let's get into one of the number one asked questions I got while making Miia. How do you walk? The feet come out through a little slit on the bottom. As you can see in this video, I stole here from another user here on YouTube that was vlogging and happened to catch me in the wild at Anime Matsuri, and thank you so much for that. There's his user. Go give him a follow, and thank you for letting me steal this little clip from your video. But you can see my little feet there. So it's kind of like a pencil skirt with a giant butt attached to it. Like I said, it was about 15 pounds of polyfill inside this thing, so it wasn't too heavy. I mean, she was pretty lightweight. I can carry about 15 pounds. Well, I can carry more than that. I'm not that weak. Carried her around and just shuffled around the convention center. But the problem was, let's get to the convention itself. Going through doors was a problem. Could not use escalators. Could not use stairs. So the elevator was my only friend going up and down the floors, because it was only a 2-floor no, it's 3 floors. It was a 3-floor convention because it was in a big convention center. And I was also in a hotel, and I think I was on the 12th floor of the hotel. So yeah, but who uses the stairs in a hotel? So let's forget that. So we're going down the hotel, immediately get stopped for photos. And I'm like, okay, yeah, drop my snake tail, wrap around, Miia pose. Okay, now let's shimmy my snake tail. I gotta shimmy it up above the knee so it's easier to walking, because I get better leverage walking, because it could pull up above the knee. As I'm pulling it up, I hear okay, it ripped a little. And I'm like, okay, shit. So it tears a little right in the slit where my feet come out. Luckily, it didn't pose any issue that I thought it was, because I thought it was going to be a much bigger issue. I was really stressed out. But you can actually see the little tear in this picture here. You can actually see the polyfill leaking out where the tear is. But luckily this was right when my photo shoot was coming to a close. That was at the very end of the day when I was getting out of Miia. Anyways, I go down to the convention center. Every 5 minutes I get stopped for pictures. And you must think, oh, that's wonderful as a cosplayer, and you must love that. Like, yes, you must want that as a cosplayer, to be stopped every 5 minutes for photos, to have all that attention on you, especially if you're trying to grow your account, trying to become a big, fabulous cosplayer. Yeah, I mean, it was nice for like the first hour, but as you're walking around or you're not walking around, because you can't, because you're trying to, and you get stopped in one spot for 2 hours straight for pictures. You just have a crowd of people swarming you for pictures. I had someone who apparently was a celebrity, like one of the actual celebrities from the convention, from the Godzilla panel, come and take a picture with me. And I didn't find out till after the convention. Somebody was like, did you know the dude from Godzilla took a picture with you? And I'm like, what? Because it was just kind of a sensory overload. It was too many people at once. It was great. I loved Miia getting that attention, and eventually I just started really going along with it. I started having fun with people, because first I was a little nervous. I'm like, oh, please don't touch the tail, like, I don't want you breaking it. And then eventually I'm just like, you know, I'm pretty confident in my work. I know I can do a good job, so, you know, get in there! You know, I'm wrapping people up in this thing, I'm, hugging on people, and it was really fun because some of these people just saw, oh, big, cool snake creature, let's get a picture with her. But when you got the real Monster Musume fans and you saw their faces light up when they saw like a Miia cosplayer, that was really warming to my heart, because I would have done the same thing with any other Monster Musume cosplayer, because it's a very rare fandom to see cosplayed. And especially, like, in my years of going to conventions, I think I've only seen 4 Monster Musume cosplays. I've seen 2 Miias, a Miro, and I think a Zombina. And those were the only Monster Musume cosplays I've seen. I haven't seen anything beyond that. And so to see a Monster Musume cosplayer, I know these fans had a very fun time with it. I even had a fan come up to me and he pulled out a Miia print from God knows where. I don't know where he was holding this thing, but he pulls out this Miia print and he's like, hold this and I want to get a picture with you. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know where you had that thing, but let's get a picture. But it was fun, and like, you know, people were a little hesitant when I really started getting into it. I'm like, yeah, get in the tail. Let me hug you. Let me wrap up. I'm like, ooh, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. You know, let's have fun with it. Let's really, you know, you're here to have fun. I'm here to have fun. I made this thing and sit on it, straddle it, hug on me. Like, you know, because I was starting to get really comfortable in the cosplay and people were having fun with it. Nobody was really being creepy about it, because, you know, that's one thing with being a female cosplayer in a semi-revealing cosplay is you don't want creepy people. And luckily I didn't have that. Everybody was super cool. And the most amazing thing was I ended up getting interviewed by the local news. And so here is just a little snippet of my interview. I sound kind of dorky, but there it is. You can watch the full interview. I do have it on my YouTube already, so you can watch the full thing. I just don't want to put the full clip in here because I'm already making this video much longer than it should be. But it was, I mean, it was really cool to be interviewed because I've never had like an experience like that. I was on the news and my family saw it and everybody's like, oh my god, look, it's the snake and it's that big snake tail she's been working on. And so it was really cool to have that happen. After trying to move around the convention center and trying to stop getting my picture taken from people, because I'm too nice and I can't say no to people. So when they're like, can I get your picture, I'm like holding all my stuff, holding my snake, and I'm like, okay, drop everything, drop the snake. I'm like, here, let me take your picture. Or not take your picture, but like, let me wrap you up. So eventually, I managed to migrate back to my hotel room where I made this little Instagram video. Don't worry, I am getting back into Miia in just a second. I just had to take a little break, get the wig off, let everything kind of air out. I just touched up my makeup a little bit, and I wanted to get some food because I was really hungry and kind of dehydrated, so I needed to get the fangs out and do all that. And then I went and I attacked people. But no. That's just our local con simp. But he's really cool. That's Fail Ninja. I've attacked him many times before. It's our thing. Video another time. But eventually, you know, I finally had to do my photo shoot because I had to be in Miia until about 6 o'clock. So I was in Miia from about 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Because my photo shoot wasn't till 6 because my photographer was a part of an idol group. So until he was done doing his idol thing, I couldn't get out of Miia because I really needed these photos because I already paid him. So I couldn't just not do my photo shoot. I wasn't originally planning on having a Kurisu or Kimimoto. I'm bad at the name, so we're just gonna call him Protag. I wasn't originally gonna have a protagonist cosplayer with me. It was just gonna be me, Miia, star of the show. Until I saw my friend, who I know is a very big fan of Monster Musume, announce on his Instagram, hey, I'm going to Anime Matsuri. And I was just like, dude, you should cosplay the protagonist. Because he didn't really have a lineup. He had nothing really planned. He didn't, he didn't have anything planned, and I'm like, I'm gonna be Miia. I know it's very easy to pull together a protagonist cosplay. You got the hair, I know you got some brown pants, and I know you got a green hoodie. Let's do this. So he pulled together a quick protagonist cosplay, and we had a lot of fun on this photo shoot. And so, since he decided on coming to do the photo shoot with me and cosplaying as the protagonist, I made the panties.
Spicy.
The Miia panties. And so, I was always kind of planning on having these, but he really sealed the deal when he said he was coming, because I knew these would make for some really funny photos. The real Monster Musume fans got to see the Miia panties, so they just safety pinned on to the snake tail. And so it was funny because I was hanging out with one of my other friends for a majority of the day as Miia, and she just constantly started chanting Snussy throughout the whole day. So just to hear someone keep going Snussy, Snussy, Snussy the whole day, it was a lot of fun. By a lot of fun, I'm like, let's just get in on this. And so, thus, the Snussy was born. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a great cosplay. We got the photo shoot done, we got great photos, and I had a lot of fun with the protag. Like Fail Ninja, our simp from earlier, our brave hero. I got to attack my friend Sean. Blue Kami Cosplay, guys, give it up for him. He was a real champ as our protag, and we got to strangle him with the snake tail. But he had a lot of fun, and as I bring in more of these monster girls into the world, you will probably see him more and more as the protagonist. Him getting beat up by me as monster girls. And so we had a lot of fun. We brought in some great pictures, and I had a lot of fun, but I was exhausted. I barely ate. I just barely managed to scarf down some Jinya ramen in my hotel room in that brief moment before I went and attacked a man. Anyway, that was pretty much the whole experience as Miia. Where is Miia now? What has happened to her? She's in a trash bag. And no, I didn't throw her away. She is currently in storage in a giant contractor bag because, like I said, this bitch was so enormous. She took up half my room, and she needed to pay rent. So she's currently in a giant contractor bag tied off and in my garage. Will Miia ever make another appearance? Of course. Like, I wouldn't put all this work into this big cosplay. Like, I'm very proud of this cosplay because I didn't even think I was going to be able to do it, honestly. Because I'm still pretty, I wouldn't say I'm green to cosplay because I've been doing it for almost 10 years now. But with the workspace I have and the materials I have to make cosplay, I don't have that much to work with. And so being able to pull it off, I'm very proud of it. So of course, yeah, Miia is definitely coming back. I don't know when, I don't know where, but we'll see her some again in the future. So, probably asking, what's this dumb bitch gonna do next? Probably our little girl here. She's not a little girl though, same age as Miia. We learned that. And if you don't know that, you need to watch the show or read the manga, because I have the full collection here. Our girl here, we're probably going to do Pappy, unless I knock out my Miro redo, because I have everything for Miro except the tail, because I threw away that junk tail. I hated it. We're going to redo Miro's tail. And maybe Miro will make an appearance later this fall. Maybe she won't. We'll see. Pappy. I'm hoping Pappy for next year. And I'm actually hoping for Zombina next year too. But we'll see what the future holds. And if you're a fan of my work, if you're a fan of good old Dolly here, if you're a fan of Octopus Doll cosplay, and you want to know another cosplay breakdown, another behind the scenes, or if you just want to hear me ramble about some bullshit, comment below one of my cosplays I've done and be like, make a video on this. I want to know more about this cosplay. For sure. And I'll make a video on it. And be sure to check out my social media, TikTok, Instagram, and check out the merch shop. Miia prints are coming soon, so if you want a picture of this big fabulous girl, come get some. See you next time.